now. Let me know where you're watching from. And don't forget to come back and comment and like the video if you're watching right now. For the replay algorithm, you know, we always appreciate the replay comments because it always helps us out. And, you know, YouTube doesn't like me. So for whatever reason, more people actually come and watch the videos after. Don't even get me started. It is what it is. We work with what we got, right? So I have a great show for you guys today. A lot of drama has happened over the last week or so. Tim Pool went on an unhinged rant about Candace Owens. I mean, unhinged for real. It got a little emotional. It got emotional for me because I couldn't stop laughing. But for him, it looked like he was almost about to cry. He also talked about shutting down right after because of some events that took place right after his rant about Candace Owens. James Lee was also fired from Breaking Points. We're going to talk about that and some of the reactions to it. Luigi Mangione, his lawyers are out there doing the lawyer's work. You know, I've always maintained that he's innocent, although what he stands for in the eyes of the public is perfectly legitimate. But his lawyers may have found some pretty significant evidence suggesting that the local police department that apprehended Luigi Mangione actually planted a gun on him. Once again, I wish I could say I was surprised, but I don't think anybody is. But the story gets even deeper because it's actually connected potentially to a previous case with this very specific police department regarding guns and the sales of guns and the use of guns to incriminate people. So, and also we're going to talk about Nigeria and how Trump basically just flipped the middle finger to the very people he claimed he wanted to help because they're allegedly being slaughtered. And this anti-immigration policy, or rather, it's an adjustment to an immigration policy that was already passed in June 2025 that specifically targets Nigeria. And we're going to talk about exactly what it does, what it doesn't do, and what the true objective is of that particular policy. I mean, if you could ever say that about Trump. But first things first, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you're all doing well. And we're going to get into this Luigi Mangione case. Now, I got to give full credit where credit is due. There's a Twitter account actually following this case very, very closely called the Luigi Archive. And they're the ones who actually discovered this information regarding the gun, the evidence, because it's not just the gun. It's basically a sequence of events, the order of events that took place the day that Luigi Mangione was apprehended. And the gun falls into place there. Hold on, let me share this with you guys so you can see it. All right, pretty sure everybody can see that. So he put this out, yesterday? Oh, excuse me, 2 days ago. My apologies. Breaking APD officer Christy Wasser, who found a gun in Luigi Mangione's backpack, testified that en route to the precinct, body cam off, she stopped to take Luigi Mangione McDonald's bag from another cop who was called elsewhere. In 2023, an ex-APD cop pleaded guilty to selling ghost guns. And I'm going to get into that story in a second. But here's the little short blip, the picture. Okay, fantastic. At McDonald's, there was no gun found. The footage verified that. 11 minutes of no body cam footage and pulling the car over once to get a bag from another cop at the precinct. All of a sudden, a gun was found. It's basically the summary. And let me just say, man, I don't know. Whoever is doing Luigi Mangione's eyebrows in prison, you have a promising career as an eyebrow technician after you get out. I don't know who this unsung hero he is, who got Luigi Mangione looking right every single court appearance. But low, baby Jesus, boy, my wife's eyebrows don't even look that damn good after she gets. Let's continue. Officer Wasser does not remember where exactly she stopped for Luigi's McDonald's bag transfer, where it was put inside the car. Remember if she said anything to another cop, which is strange. I guess that's why you wear body cameras, huh? Usually wear blue medical gloves while driving, used not to contaminate evidence, but had them on this time. I'm assuming she does not usually wear those gloves. Moreover, both of these cops needed to be coached by 6 prosecutors 5 or 6 times on how to make these testimonies, even though it is not their first time testifying in court, as they've done so in other cases. Another cop, Stephen Fox, said that cameras in his cars were also off. He gave Officer Wasser McDonald's bag because he was called back to McDonald's, which they just left. Evidence split into 2 bags in 2 different police cars, all cameras off. And so, yeah, that's part of the reason why Luigi Mangione's lawyers are calling for dismissal. As you all know, they've been calling for this case to be thrown out since at least February for various reasons. His Miranda rights were not read to him actually correctly when they arrested him. There was an illegal, they were searching his bag illegally. There was no warrant for that search because he wasn't a suspect, right? So, there's a whole host of reasons. But this particular one regarding the McDonald's bag exchange and the gun is interesting, specifically because of that police precinct and what a former cop in that precinct was found guilty of. Former cop pleads guilty to gun charges. Let me zoom in for you guys so you can see this. Boy, in Portuguese, there's a phrase you would say, ele tem cara. He just looked like the kind of dude that would do this shit. Everything that I'm about to read to y'all is like, yeah, he looks guilty. He looks guilty as hell. Yep, that's him. I don't even know what he did, but he's guilty of it. A former Altoona police detective has pleaded guilty to 7 federal, this is in 2023, by the way, 7 federal charges related to manufacturing, selling, and possessing ghost guns. Craig Zerignick, 51, of Altoona, entered the pleas in U.S. District Court of Johnstown on Monday and was ordered detained pending his sentencing set for April 10th. U.S. District Court Judge Stephanie Haynes declared Zerignick a danger to the community. Online federal court documents show Zerignick pleaded guilty to 7 out of the 9 counts of indictment. In September, U.S. Attorney Eric G. Olshan announced the indictment of Zerignick, Harry Miller in Martinsburg, and Wayne Faribaugh of Portage with conspiring with each other and with persons yet unknown. Okay, so that's the part. So the ghost guns, right? Manufacturing of those guns. So ghost guns basically means they don't belong to nobody. He got caught buying these parts separately, putting these guns together, and then selling them to persons unknown. Now, in these situations, what have we come to learn? A lot of the times, they're selling them to whom? They're selling them to police officers, or people who are doing the bidding of any particular police precinct, right? You see this a lot in Brazil, where you see it in movies too, but in Brazil, it's wild. You'll turn on the news and they're like, we caught a bunch of bandidos, a bunch of gang members with a whole bunch of guns. And then you look at the guns and the guns look like they just came fresh out the goddamn box and they're ready to go to war. I'm like, they found the guns because the cops always knew where the guns were. because the cops sold them the guns. These are cop guns. They're like M4s. Bro, wait, they got pistols with silencers. I'm like, bro, these are cop guns. These are literally straight out the police department. So this cop, not even 2 years earlier, was found guilty along with and conspiring along with others to sell these guns to individuals. And probably as part of the plea, we don't know exactly who he sold them to. And later on, we found out that Luigi Mangione had a gun planted on him. Now, you can't plant a registered gun on somebody, right? If it's a dirty gun, that's a whole different, like, you know, you had the serial number scratched off and all that. That's a whole different situation. But with a quote unquote ghost gun, you can basically make it seem as if it was anybody's gun. You can make it seem as if Luigi himself had put it together, or the parts, because that's oftentimes the case in a lone shooter type of situation, right? They claim, oh, I ordered these parts, and they, you know, they took advantage of the holes in the system, ordered these parts online separately, put them together, et cetera, et cetera. That's usually the story that they put together. But it's just very interesting that this police department had a detective who was found guilty of making ghost guns, and they found what would be considered a ghost gun in Luigi's backpack. But only after initially searching in McDonald's without a warrant, never actually finding that particular gun, and then doing some type of exchange with the body camera off, and then later on at the precinct, yeah, he's guilty. We found a gun now. We didn't have a gun before, but now we got one. If we didn't think that Luigi Mangione was innocent before, which, not for nothing, but if you've been following the case even a little bit, it's kind of insane to believe that he's actually guilty of this. Right? I know we'd be like, yeah, you know, that person over there, that CEO deserves to be Mangione, but like, it's half of we're partially playing because the same people who believe that also are fully aware, like, yeah, he's being framed. He's being framed. Because they want to make an example out of somebody and put it on full display so that no one gets any bright ideas on how we should deal with these billionaires and these CEOs who are literally responsible for killing millions of people. Shout out to Christian. What's going on, man? Appreciate the super chat. Niko, what's good? Happy hump day. Started my day off with Sabby Sabs on the mandolin. And shoot, I didn't know Sabby was on the mandolin today. That's what's up. I'm definitely going to check that out. Support independent black media, y'all. Amen to that one. Yeah. Amen. Support indie black media, because you see what they're doing over there on the other side. They're firing people, covering Israel. Woo! We're going to talk about that in a second. But I just find it interesting. I wonder what your thoughts are about that, man. And if you're watching after the live stream, leave a comment below, because once again, there might be some people who think that he's guilty, but this looks like a crucifixion, right? I mean, once again, it's just super weird that this Canadian kid was up in the McDonald's after committing murder and assassination, effectively. And it's like, yeah, man, let me get a double cheeseburger and put together this manifesto real quick. What? Bro, these official stories, I'm not laughing because, that ain't really something. Or these people, Luigi's life is being affected by this. Although I believe that after everything is said and done, he's probably going to come out better on because of it. I think that he's going to end up being able to countersue, and he's going to win a lot of money. But it'll be done in silence, right? Because that's how these things usually work. They drag them out, and then whenever they have to be like, yeah, we messed up, what usually ends up happening, they end up having to pay somebody. So I think he'll come out the other side okay, as long as he isn't, taken out in prison. However, I think it's funny that there's this weird pattern of these official storylines leading to someone stopping at a fast food restaurant. After all the commotion, damn, bro, I might be going to jail for life. Let me go ahead and get one last cheeseburger. Let me get one last ice cream cone. Let me get one last smoothie or milkshake. Like, what? Is that like a real thing? Because I've never I don't understand that pattern. It's weird. Bro, do y'all remember after the Parkland shooting, just before we switch gears, y'all remember after the Parkland shooting, that Nicholas kid, who was accused of doing the shooting, they said that they found him across the street at Subway after. He was eating the Subway. Eating a Subway sandwich. I'm like, yo. It's just really weird. It's like, yeah, man, caught him at Dairy Queen, caught him at McDonald's, caught him at a Subway. Like, okay, I guess committing mass shootings and assassination does make one hungry. You know, your adrenaline's rushing and all that good stuff. But it's just weird. And also makes these stories less believable because you just see these same patterns over and over and over again with these official storylines that don't add up, evidence tampered with. You know, these individuals that they pick up, they don't fit the bill at all. And then you got the Luigi Mangione case, of course, which is like, yeah, let me put together a manifesto where I'm going to confess my guilt and then say I'm not guilty. Just like with not Dylan Roof, excuse me. Oh, man. The kid being accused of killing Charlie Kirk. You know, I'm bad with names. But just like him, like, yeah, let me admit to everything only to actually say that I'm not guilty of anything. When everybody asks me, because that's usually how that works. No, it isn't. Which is why people are so skeptical about these official storylines. But I'm like 98% positive. Luigi Mangione is not guilty of a damn thing except for being at McDonald's, the wrong place, the wrong time. And he's being scapegoated, unfortunately. Yo. Tim Pool, that man is having a mental breakdown. I don't know what's going on with him. You know, I generally, you know, I refer to him as Tim Tool, right? Tim Fool, Beanie Shapiro. You know, there's plenty of nicknames out there for him. But in all seriousness, Tim Pool is a duplicitous, untrustworthy, feckle human being. Like he cannot be trusted. He can't, because this is the same man. He's one of those. I don't know if how many of y'all have been paying attention to politics and the political landscape as far as this discourse is concerned between independent media and who and where and why. But for those of you who don't know, Tim Pool used to be a liberal. Some would even consider him to be a leftist, right? And then whenever that whole why I left the left train left the station, he was like the first one on it. It was, I'm a liberal, but I still have I still have all these beliefs, but I'm actually going to take a conservative stance because it's more popular. And he became super famous for just being the opposite of what he was. For claiming he's a liberal, right? I mean, he wrote, it was the same thing Dave Rubin did, right? I'm a classical liberal, right? I'm a liberal, but I have all these conservative views. And I'm only going to talk to conservatives. I'm never actually going to have on leftists that are going to call me out. Nor will I have conservatives that call me out for my inconsistency. And then I'm going to pretend like conservatives are actually the victims. And then eventually they make the complete and total transition to, oh, actually, I think after talking and interviewing so many conservatives and seeing the way that liberals act, and I'm gonna use Kamala Harris and Joe Biden as like the archetypes for what a liberal or a leftist actually is. Like, because of those factors, I think I'm a conservative now. And then they get millions of dollars to make nonsensical points. I mean, hell, Tim Pool is even disingenuous for a conservative, and that's saying something. Like, as a conservative, he's disingenuous. So, after this whole Charlie Kirk situation's popped up, obviously there's been a lot of there's been a lot of infighting within the MAGA community. There's been a lot of infighting within the conservative community. And by infighting, I just mean a bunch of people, a bunch of conservatives who attack Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, effectively. And Nick Fenton says, but that's a whole different thing because I'm pretty sure he's a Fed. But specifically, Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. But they have the level of vitriol we have seen spewed at Candace specifically has been next level. And in the case of Tim Pool, I think that it could be some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches being made up in the studio. I think he's a little bit jelly. Because you have to think about where at the point of divergence for these two individuals. Tim knew nothing about Israel and Palestine. Talked about it like never. And he decided to take a side because we know that Tim runs a massive multi-million-dollar organization and he got bills to pay and he's paying other people's bills. And being duplicitous and pretending to be an expert on issues that he's not actually an expert on, that effectively reinforces status quo is how he became a millionaire, right? Okay. So he took the route of, I don't know about Israel, but all of a sudden I'm the most pro-Israel person in the room. And anyone who criticizes me or Israel is suffering from Israel derangement syndrome. Then you look at Candace, who got fired from the Daily Wire and kind of surprised everybody by actually being pro-Palestine and being completely and totally anti-Zionist. Working with, I'm sure she has some, she got some people helping her out. Maybe, I'll say about 4 or 5. Maybe about 4 or 5. And I don't even know if it's that many, honestly, because she's like a one-woman show, right? So she has a couple of people help. Tim has a massive studio, multiple people working for him, and multiple people writing for him, production, editing. I mean, it's a massive operation. Y'all remember that $10 million bag that he lost? Now, where did Candace's career go and where did Tim Pool's career go? Candace, if we're being just completely honest and objective, was the first conservative out of that entire group that showed that you can still be profitable and successful and be an anti-Zionist. She was the first one. And it threw everybody off because I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm like, shit, maybe it is. Who knows? I wouldn't change my opinion regardless. But Candace came out and was like, I don't give a damn. She was willing to get fired. She was willing to get blacklisted. She was willing to get blackballed. She was willing to get attacked by conservatives and all that shit. And she ends up coming out on top. Now, Tim, who has the convictions of a dog who sees a pile of trash with some good scraps of food in it, and a person they ain't never met in their life, and a person's like, there's a car coming, you're gonna die, and he's like, yeah, but there's food over there. That's basically Tim Pool. You don't see them scraps over there? I'm gonna go eat. Fuck that car. That's Tim Pool. And so, in my opinion, it's coming back to bite them in the ass. And I think that if you listen to this rant, by Tim, it really comes off to me as jealousy. I mean, the stuff that he says about her is very vitriolic. Stuff that I wouldn't. I mean, I'm a pretty vulgar individual. I'm not even going to front. But the stuff that he's saying about Candace, once again, if you're going to attack an individual, I'm not saying you can't have beef with an individual, but at least back it up with some claims. Be honest, be truthful, and substantiate your criticisms. But Tim, like other individuals, are not doing that with Candace. It's ad hominem after ad hominem after ad hominem and completely and totally neglecting in everything that she's saying. All the evidence that she's putting out. I mean, she's putting out text messages, for Christ's sakes. She's putting out videos. I mean, like videos of like evidence and how she's reached out to this person, the FBI, and putting out personal conversations with people from TPUSA. Y'all aren't doing none of that, and y'all are attacking her as if she's doing something wrong. So, really quick, check this out.
Organization that's rallying young people, causing a shift in the political leanings of a generation for the first time in history, is now in dire straits. Their leader and founder.
Sorry, it's finally. It's a political organization that's causing a shift among young people for the first time in history. That's like that's not true at all. But okay.
Murdered, and prominent pieces of human trash are trying to destroy it. It's fucking evil. So you know what? When someone pulls in front of my property and fires on it several times, I'm sitting here looking at these vile pieces of shit and thinking to myself, for what purpose will I stick my neck out if this is what happens after Charlie Kirk is killed? Candace Owens is a fucking evil scumbag. She is a degenerate cunt. She is burning everything down, and she's gloating and smiling while she does it. And you know what you fucking told me? She has no security. She doesn't fucking deal with the shit we have to deal with. She's a piece of shit. She's making everyone else suffer. And all of these fucking conservatives out there that send me these fucking messages have no fucking balls to call her out. More and more people have started doing it. They send me.
Okay. Bro, I mean, there's like evidence like her life is definitely at risk, specifically because of Israel. But also, no one's caught her out. No one's called her out, Tim. He said, all these conservatives are texting me and don't have the ball to call her out. Who? I mean, y'all are on the same X that I'm on, right? Y'all TLs vary a little bit because I'm in Brazil and y'all might be in the States or elsewhere. But like, I know that I see people literally trying to engagement farm from attacking Candace, from mentioning Candace. And this man is like crying. Oh my God. Why would I stick my neck out? Tim, you have never in your life stuck your neck out for anybody. There is not one time that I like watched a Tim Pool segment on literally anything. I'm like, wow, Tim is so brave for that take. Wow, he's props. Props for making the hot take and taking the right stance when it was hard to do. Ain't nobody ever said that about Tim Pool. Tim Pool's whole brand is status quo is where to go. But to pretend like no one has attacked Candace Owens has entire episodes of her live stream, like entire episodes dedicated to calling people out who attack her. Like, why would I stick my neck out? You aren't sticking your neck out for nobody. If anything, if I was Candace, this would damn near be the speech that I'd be giving. Like, why would I stick my neck out when I'm seeing how people are acting I'm seeing how Charlie's colleagues are his own wife are acting after he's killed, pretending like the FBI isn't covering it up or manipulating this investigation to make it look like everything is all good, like it was just a normal assassination. Pretending as if Tyler Robinson is actually guilty when we know that the evidence is showing he had nothing to do with this. Pretending like TPUSA isn't covering stuff up. Pretending like Erica Kirby's behavior is fucking normal. Like, if I'm Candace, I would be thinking, like, why would I ever stick my neck out for any of y'all? Because the moment that Charlie died, all y'all did was turn his image and flip it into a goddamn money machine to fill your bank accounts and your coffers. And really the only thing Candace did was just try to figure out who actually murdered her friend. And y'all are freaking out about it. And the only reason that people like Tim freak out, and I'm gonna be very clear about this, the only reason that people like Tim freak out is because of money. He will never get this emotional over somebody dying. Bro, Palestinians being slaughtered, and this motherfucker talking about we got Israel derangement syndrome. You can show them videos and videos and photos on photos, info on info. Hell, the West Bank people in the West Bank being slaughtered over the last couple of weeks during a supposed ceasefire. Show videos of temple of people starving. Show them what's happening in Somalia. Show them what's happening in Sudan at the hands of the United States. At the hands of the president he refused to criticize, which is also part of the reason why he's losing his audience. Because even MAGA is tired of fucking Trump. And he won't shed a tear. He just talks in that monotone, boring-ass voice that he has and tries to justify cruelty and blame the victim. But when money is on the line, she's a degenerate. She's a degenerate. She said, I fuck you security. Actually, I think Candace said she actually did have to hire security. If I'm not mistaken, Candace said she had to hire security. If I'm not mistaken, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure she did say that. But either way, like, what? Why are you getting so emotional about this? I wonder, it honestly makes me wonder, has Tim been getting paid by TPUSA? We know he's been getting money from Israel. But I'm going to explain to you the problem with that in a second. But this rant makes me wonder if Tim had been getting some kind of money on the side from TPUSA to keep him afloat. Because he did lose that $10 million. His views have fallen, which we don't get into. But yeah, here's the rest.
These fucking messages. Good for you, Tim. Good for you, Tim. I wasn't the first person to do it. I'm not going to take credit for that. But don't fucking DM me like I did something for you as you fucking cower, scared that she'll put you on her thumbnail and claim you benefited from Charlie Kirk's assassination, which he's doing to me right fucking now.
Yeah,
I'm fucking done with these people.
She has security, just not on the level of you.
Oh, yeah, the one fat guy you mentioned with no wall and no barrier.
Exactly. He's like, well, she does have security. Like his dude's like, yeah, man, you should chill out. Now it's, one fat guy with no, like, hold on, you just said she didn't have security. So now you're going to like give some fake image of whoever her security guy is. And I would honestly be curious to know, how the fuck do you know what security she has? How is that Tim Pool public information? It seems that to me, that kind of defeats the point of security. I doubt that Candace Owens is reaching out to Tim Pool or his people to discuss security matters. So if you do know, I would like to know how you know. But okay.
In a suburban neighborhood with neighbors, she doesn't give two fucking shits. No one's out for her. She's lying about all of this. You told me you went to her house and she's got a 4-foot wall and one fat guy, and she doesn't give a shit about her security. Meanwhile, I get bullets fired at my fucking property and I have to go live in the middle of nowhere. And I got fucking strangers coming up to my house in Maryland, breaking in. I got people showing up and beating up the residents who try to live there. How the fuck am I even supposed to sell this property? And you know, it's all lies. It's all hypocrisy.
You heard it? You heard it? They always snitch on themselves. How am I supposed to sell this property? Ooh. That's what you're concerned about? I thought it was your security. And also beating up the residents, bro. Come on, man. Like, I doubt that that's happening. If there were like a bunch of people coming to your crib and coming to your neighborhood and beating up residents because, oh no, you attacked Candace Owens. Like, come on, bro. Like, that would be a massive story. There would be multiple media outlets reporting that. That's not something you just hide. But also, if somebody can clarify, if y'all know, why the hell is this dude just showing up to Candace Owens' house? The other dude. He just showed up. He just popped up. Hey, man, I went to Candace Owens' crib and scouted out. For why? And pretend to be like, oh, man, like, oh. I'm just like laughing because he's like, he's scared he put in her thumbnail. Like, what? Oh, what? You worried that Candace holds some weight? But you claiming that Candace is lying? Like, bro, how? If you're gonna make a claim that Candace Owens is lying, like, I've already covered this multiple times on this show, and I'm gonna stick to it until It's the theory is disproven, but anything that has anything to do with Charlie Kirk, that assassination, TPUSA, or even her personal, her life being threatened, I'm going to go ahead and lean towards Candace telling the truth. Because every single time we're like, where's the receipts, Candace? She provides the receipts. So you can't be like, oh, she's lying about everything. Okay, well, where are your receipts? Because every time Candace has said some shit, well, you see the receipts. You can like her, you can dislike her. These are the facts. Every time Candace has said something, we see receipts. We know Tim, on the other hand, likes to pull facts out of his ass and then out of his beanie. Whatever's more convenient at the time.
Is for the purpose of making money, and she does not live the way other people live. And she claims she liked Charlie, she loved Charlie, and she is burning everything down that he built because she is evil. She is evil. And I'll say it again, this conservative movement is fractured, it's fried, whatever it is. Okay? Republicans are on track to lose the midterms. They were actually trending in the other direction until Charlie Kirk was murdered.
Yeah.
And this is the point, isn't it? The most effective political assassination in history. And thanks to the likes of the vile cunt Candace Owens, she has turned Turning Point into the perpetrators of the crime that was against them.
No, it wasn't against them. It was against Charlie. I'm just be clear about that. Turning Point got a bunch of money. Shit. Right? Eric Kirk got a bunch of money. Wait, what was that life insurance policy that she pulled out right before he died? Was it $30 million, some shit like that? Right? Whereas Turning Point was going to be edited, as per Candace Owens and the evidence that she provided, they are now not being edited. They got motherfucking fake shell companies in Arizona sending $1.5 million. Here you go. But do you think you think that Charlie Kirk? Okay, so assuming that Charlie Kirk could have affected the outcome of the midterms, right, in a way that would have benefited the Republicans, that would also assume that he was going to continue on this route where he was going to continue making excuses for Trump regarding Ukraine and Israel and even Venezuela. I can make an argument based off of what we know about his stance on Israel. Right, he switched up. Right, he had criticized Trump on the way he was handling Ukraine conflict. I would assume that because of the flip we're seeing when it comes to a lot of people on the Epstein files, that would have he probably would have switched up on that one too. Not because of any altruistic intentions, just because, I mean, look at the poll numbers. Look at the approval rating and then look at the MAGA economy. The MAGA economy is crumbling. It is actually profitable to call out Trump, to be combative and engage with his horrible policies in ways that you otherwise wouldn't have back in the day whenever MAGA's cult was, at full strength. Even Venezuela. I'm not sure that Charlie would have supported the Venezuela, the war, because he didn't support the war against Iran like that. So what evidence do you have that Charlie Kirk being alive would have flipped the fucking man? Also, what tangible gains do we get from Republicans being in charge again? That would be like me saying, oh man, the Democrats are gonna win, and that should be super important to me. For why? I don't care. Democrats being in charge, Republican being in charge, the same bullshit. But that just wants to, if you're going to make a statement like that, tell me how that would benefit me. Because you're like, this organization was so important to the conservative movement and it was going to get Republicans in power. And that's where it stops, isn't it? Because that's all you're concerned about. But what does Republican being in power do for the average Republican, right? For the working class Republican, for the working class conservative? Because Republicans had power. Republicans had power. What did they do with it? Trump is the president. What is he doing? Protecting pedophiles? Hell, Republicans were even trying to protect them up until they couldn't anymore. And I'm not entirely confident, that they're going to actually release these files the way that they're supposed to be released. And I am confident that if they can protect their own ass and protect the president, they will. Outside of Thomas Massey. He's like fabricating these excuses as to why he has so much animosity towards Candace, and none of it actually makes sense for why you should care, which probably explains the other video he did, which I actually find even funnier. Apparently, he's having a bad day, y'all. He's having a bad day or a bad week, maybe a bad year.
We have 2 weeks.
So I'm going to show you this clip that also came out. Y'all try not to laugh, guys. Okay? Try not to laugh. I'm not saying that I promise I won't laugh, but I'm just saying y'all try to show some sympathy where I'm not capable, because I'm not fucking like this guy.
So where does it leave us? We have 2 weeks left in the year before we go on our Christmas hiatus. You know, I'm not a big fan of any kind of hiatus. I would prefer just to work. But it is taxing. It is grueling, of course. And there's a lot of infrastructure here that requires me to work all day, every day, Monday to Friday, with some extra work on the weekends, usually meetings. And I'm probably going to have a stroke. My health's actually pretty good. My blood pressure is great. My resting heart rate is actually around 45. I exercise quite a bit. Haven't been able to skate in the past month or two, the holidays, and But we have to have these conversations, and I have been with the people, our contractors, people we work with, our vendors, partners. And one thing is clear: the violence will get worse. It is going to escalate. We cannot keep going as status quo. Something has to change.
This might be the only time in the history of the world where Tim Pool calls for a change in status quo. It's hilariously ironic. We can't continue the status quo that I have completely and totally benefited from until just now. Woo! Oh, bro, I'm telling you, the universe, man. The universe got a sense of humor.
May be that, as we described after the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the threat to come and shoot up our studio and our workplace, we asked, at what point do we say we can't do this anymore? The cost of running Timcast IRL studio and the projects around it exceeds the amount of money it brings in. That's just that breaking point, isn't it, for any business? If you need $100 to, run your restaurant, but you're only bringing 90, you go out of business. The issue? The cost isn't cameras or lights. The cost is security because of the escalation. It's an artificial cost to doing business that we can't balance. We can't forego security, but we can't sustain it either. So I've had some conversations with our partners, been talking with Rumble. There may be a solution, and it's going to be rapid change very quickly. We're going to have some emergency meetings. We've already had emergency meetings for obvious reasons. And there is a possibility that the 19th is the last episode of Timcast IRL. We are doing everything we can to make sure that's not going to be the case. It's no secret that I've been frustrated and disillusioned with a lot of people in politics, but that's no reason to walk away from doing our nightly show with a tremendous success. But the cost is not just money anymore. The cost is the safety of my family, myself. And there are Many ideas were floating around.
I'm sure, y'all. I said I wasn't gonna laugh. I'm trying. So I'm trying to put on my best Erica Kirk. Where my tissue at? Where's my dry tissue? On my wet wipe. If you're gonna do your best Erica Kirk impression, you gotta pull out a wet wipe, because if you actually use tissue, it's gonna stay dry during the bit. So, but oh my God, y'all. What a loss. What a loss. What will the world do, guys, without him doing his show every night? What will happen to independent media? What will happen to YouTube? What will happen to politics? Like, I can't believe it. I don't even know what we're gonna. Oh, I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna continue to not give a fuck. Actually, a lot of us probably be happy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I just find it funny that, like, you're trying to tell me that Candace Owens, because I mean, this is the only logical conclusion, right? You attacked Candace Owens, and Candace Owens is so huge that you are allegedly being forced to beef up your security, which is like actually kind of insane. I know security can be a little bit expensive, but like, what the hell kind of security are you trying to get, dog? That is, I mean, because this security is only required after your attack on Candace Owens. And so you're trying to tell me you got to call and got like damn near the FBI to come in and protect y'all because of an attack against Canada? That's kind of hard to believe. It's kind of hard to believe. But if it is the truth, damn. Like, Candace got to like that. Candace got people that are in her base that are so rabid that they're pulling up to where he's at now, New Jersey, West Virginia. I don't remember. Right? I know they was living in West Virginia at some point. I also know they was living in New Jersey at some point. Who knows? But for real? Like, Candace got it like that? That is crazy. But I actually don't believe that it's security. I don't believe it has anything to do with security. I truly don't think anyone cares enough about Tim Pool's contributions or lack thereof to the discourse of politics that he needs to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on security. I just don't believe it. But what is true that he left out is that Tim's show has been in steady decline for at least a year, and probably he's experienced the most decline in the last couple of months. Effectively, since his complete and total alignment with Israel, his numbers have suffered. Since he's refused to call out Trump, his numbers have suffered because, I mean, most of the horrific news that needs to be reported basically makes the Republicans and Trump look bad. And, people like us, myself, I don't have any problem holding Trump or the Democrats accountable. I hold Trump accountable in the same way I held Biden accountable. It's not even skin off my damn back. Because I'm honest. And I actually do this because I like to keep the working class educated on what's going on. I don't do this for my team, quote unquote, to win, unless you're considering my team to be the working class. Tim Pool's getting. So for those of you who don't know how these numbers, I know some people might think like 150,000 a clip, 250,000 a clip, 200,000. No, those numbers, like, so with the analysis that I did of Tim's numbers for this last month, right? He would have made at most, like without subscriptions on YouTube's only, $13,000. That is not enough There's not enough to sustain a multi-million-dollar organization. Like, I know people might think, oh man, these YouTube people are breaking. No, bro. Every year, ad money seems to get more and more scarce. It's been like that for like the last 4 or 5 years. Because you only have so much money to split amongst the certain categories of YouTubers. He's only getting like 150,000, 200,000 views now, a clip, whereas he was getting millions and millions and millions before. So let's just say he gets at least double that, or he gets at least 13,000 in premium subscriptions. That is still not enough to maintain his business. But the other problem that you have is, okay, so that these contractors, these vendors, I'm just gonna go ahead and call them Israel at this point, right? Israel, who was probably giving him them, they started giving, I told y'all, I said Tim got tapped on the shoulder at some point. It was obvious, right? Because this is the man who admitted the whole reason he had Max Blumenthal on his show was because he knew nothing about Israel, had zero interest in the topic, and hadn't taken a side. And he went from that to anyone who criticizes Israel has Israel derangement syndrome. Okay. Since that moment, he started kissing Israel's ass, literally sucking up and holding private meetings with Netanyahu, if you guys remember. So I'm sure that some of the money was coming from Israel. But as a business person, you know, like that money is temporary. It's not sustainable. But it's also a caveat. Your views, your reach has to match the value. And if for some reason you are reaching less and less and less and less and less people, but we're giving you more and more and more money, the math ain't mathing, arithmetically speaking. So the money that he would get to supplement that maybe $26,000 a month with subscriptions and viewership, they're like, yeah, man, we can't really pay that anymore. Ain't nobody really fucking with you like that. You know, hey, they're not really watch you like they used to, man. You like, damn, homie, you used to be the man, homie. They hit him with the 50 cent. You ain't got like that no more. We don't know what happened. So now he's losing that money. And this, oh man, they shut out my house. Oh man, people are threatening me. Oh, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity for me to cry and whine about how we need subs. And if you're loyal to me, if you're loyal to Tim Pool, who the hell would be loyal to Tim Pool? I don't know. But if you are loyal to me, this is the time to show it with your money because we need it. He got too big for his britches. And if December 19th is the last episode of Tim IRL, I feel like it would be like the most fitting way for Tim to be put out, for him to go down. Because the only reason Tim got this famous was from being a duplicitous, self-important, ideologically ambiguous asshole who stuck his finger in the wind to figure out where his opinion was going to fall. So it would only be fitting that that's the same way his ass goes out. The very thing that got him famous would be the thing that gets him cut out. Because if he would have shut up on Israel, right, he could have just kept going the way he was going. But he would have also ran the risk of like people being like, well, or he would have ran the risk of missing out on a very popular topic. Because you know how these people think. They don't care if it's negative or positive views. To them, views is reviews, comments are comments. That's why Tim is known for trolling. Right? So we had to make a stand. And ain't like being pro-Palestine was paying the big bucks. You're getting banned off of Instagram, banned off of TikTok, banned off of YouTube, videos demonetized. So you know what thing was gonna take. Even though he had actually taken a stand. He didn't care about the issue. And then all of a sudden, he cared about it so much that he had to be a Zionist. Why? Because that's where the money is. But if he would have just shut up, or even taking the temporary hit of being pro-Palestine to make a long-term, to gain the long-term success that Candace Owens is now experiencing, that Tucker Carlson is now experiencing, he probably wouldn't be in this position right now. He just had to shut up or be against genocide. I know, man, that's like a super hard decision to make, right? Damn, bro, I really got to make a whole stance against genocide. Like, I got to be consistently against apartheid in a genocidal regime that's infiltrated my government and is controlling my politicians. Like, there's no other way to do this. I know, Tim. Poor you. How hard is it? I know it's very difficult. Actually, no, it's not. Not a single day in my life that I regret being against genocide. Not one day where I could make more money. I could have a bigger platform. Hotspot would. I mean, we would still have our 200,000 on TikTok, 200,000 on IG. We get hundreds of millions of views on both of those platforms before we got knocked out. And guess who's losing sleep about it over at Hotspot? Not a single one of us. Not me, not Nick, nor David, nor our producers. Why? Because we're not going to fucking support genocide. We'll take the hit, but we're not supporting genocide. Because one day my kids are going to go back and look at my content. And when they read about the genocide that the U.S. helped fund in their school books, when they see posts about this, they'll be like, well, what did Daddy say about this? What did Daddy's friends say about this? Like, what? And I want my kids, my grandkids, and my nephews, and my nieces to be like, okay, Dad was on the right side of history. Dad did not support genocide. He sacrificed to call it out. Tim, however, chose money over the truth. And now he's paying for it, ironically. Speaking of which, I want to switch gears. Shout out to you. I like this video. Make sure you like, share, sub if this is your first time here. James Lee, man. James Lee was fired from Breaking Points. And I'm not gonna lie, I can't really say I'm not surprised. Not because he doesn't do amazing work. I'm actually surprised because it took so long. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. So I'm just going to show you the tweet that he put out. Personal update. I wanted to let you all know that my time as a contributor for Breaking Points has come to an end. I want to give a massive thank you to Sagar, who reached out to me when I had just 2,000 subscribers. He took a chance on me and gave me the confidence that I belong in this crazy world of media. I'm incredibly grateful for the platform they provided, and I wish Sagar, Crystal, and the whole team nothing but the best going forward. As for what's next, I'm more energized than ever to double down fully independent journalism. I'm excited to build a new space where we can speak the truth without restriction, and can't wait to share this new chapter with you all. Since then, he's put out a couple of videos, did an interview with Kim Iverson, kind of going into a little bit further detail about it. And once again, when I say I'm not surprised, I'm not saying it because of James. I'm saying it because we know Crystal and to some extent Sagar. And we know at the end of the day, it's all about the money. We know that they're going to go They're going to be anti-establishment only up to the point where, like, it's conducive to still making profits and convincing people that they're anti-establishment. But when those elections come around, best believe Chris is going to tell you to vote Democrat. Soccer's going to probably not go either way. You know, if they're not really, Soccer's probably not going to go either way. I think that he supported Trump. Don't quote me on that in this last election, but it was like because it was against Kamala. But Chris is going to tell you to double down on the Democrats. She's going to support DSA, right? And they are not going to touch topics that are considered to be controversial. They're going to stay within their limited hangout. I mean, you don't hire Ryan Grimm because you're like, oh, Mr. Controversial. Like, no, you're like, yeah, he's exactly what we're looking for at Breaking Points. Ryan Grimm does some okay work, but he does okay work within the confines of the limited hangout in the independent media space. So James, what happens? So this is what's weird. Y'all remember whenever Oracle took over TikTok? So shortly after that, basically James Lee got banned on TikTok. Right after that, literally like within the same week, if I'm not mistaken, gets an email that Breaking Point is going in a new direction. Okay? Usually, ladies and gentlemen, if your organization is going in a new direction, you want to go in the direction of the guy who is popular as shit with basically little to no help outside of himself, because he does most of his own editing, right? Crystal and Sagar, like when he initially got boosted, it was because, Crystal and Sagar were using their accounts to boost him. But out after that, that's all James. James does amazing work. He does some fantastic, and he's a hard worker at that. Like, based off of what he said, he did more than what they asked for. He went above and beyond. They wouldn't let him air the interview with Elijah Schaefer with this over this lawsuit from the honeypot, basically. Shit. Cash Patel's Israeli girlfriend who is suing Elijah Schaefer for a retweet insinuating that she's a CIA asset, or excuse me, a Mossad asset. Now, I don't like Elijah Schaefer, but like the interview was about the lawsuit, which I believe is fair play, fair ground, and probably actually deserved to be covered, considering the girlfriend of an FBI director is suing a commentator, a pundit, which could have some pretty serious implications on the First Amendment. They didn't want him to air it. They said the lawyers were claiming that it could be defamation, it could be libel. Like, I'm like, what? No, that's not true. I actually watched the interview. I'm like, he didn't even say anything libelous. Like, he didn't say anything that could be remotely construed as libelous. Like, especially James. James was asked a bunch of questions. But James posted the interview anyway on his channel. So that might have had something to do with it. His coverage of Erica Kirk. Might have had something to do with it. So, a lot of people decided, like, hey, man, shit, Niko might be on something. I got a lot of people in trouble after I started covering Erica Kirk. I ain't gonna front. Some of y'all found the channel because of Erica Kirk coverage. A lot of people were scared to touch that line. They were like, man, this Erica shit looking a little bit weird. I don't know. I was like, shit, I don't care. I'm gonna talk about it. And a lot of people got in trouble for finally acknowledging in video, like using their platform to acknowledge in video what was obvious to everybody, but everybody was kind of like, oh no, I can't say that because she's a grieving widow. Grieving where? Shit. But Breaking Points They have actually followed the official narrative. Breaking Point has followed the official narrative of the Charlie Kirk assassination, which has been a deviation from James Lee, who's actually doing investigative journalism. Like, James is a great journalist. And I'm happy for him that he was able to use the space that he was, because in my opinion, if he was already that famous doing the type of work that he was doing, Crystal and Soccer would have never brought him on, because that there's too much uncertainty with that level of popularity and the level of deep diving James likes to get into. So I like, James has been very polite and professional about how he's handling the whole thing. But like my biggest problem is, like, he was gonna cover a story by Israeli. I wouldn't let him post it. He posted it anyway, then he gets fired. You say you're going in a new direction, but like, James, like, the views that y'all get covering stories like 30 minutes at a time, James can post 1, 2, or 3 minute video on Instagram and TikTok and get 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 views. And y'all got like 150,000. So like, why fire one of the most popular commentators that's contributing to your network? That doesn't make any sense. What fucking direction are y'all going in? But my other complaint is Soccer brought him on personally, allegedly. So you can reach out to him, you can bring him on personally, but like, y'all can't call him personally. Y'all gotta send him an email saying you're going in a different direction. Right after his TikTok gets removed, by the way. And James says this email came after Sagar had told him personally that he had been getting calls about some of the stuff that James was covering. I'm like, what does he cover? James ain't said nothing crazy. He doesn't say anything that's like, oh my God, or far-fetched. And he damn sure doesn't make any claims. Like, he doesn't say like this is true with 100% certainty unless he can back that claim up with information or facts. And oftentimes he's just asking questions that are worth asking. But Kim Iverson said on her show, and I said the same thing when I heard him say it I think it was another interview. But whenever I heard him say, oh yeah, they got calls, oh, that means there's some money involved. Because once again, just like Tim Pool's show, you can't have a network of people, a network of journalists, commentators, pundits, whatever, with infrastructure like that, unless somebody is funding you to the tune of millions. Now, Crystal was already a multimillionaire about 30 times over. She was worth like $30 or $40 million before she left the Hill. But obviously, she's not going to, maybe to start the network, she could have funded it herself. But to sustain it, of course, they're going to use their contacts, they're going to use their network. But there's always even if somebody's letting you be anti-Zionist, there's always a limit. Somebody letting you be anti-establishment, like we've seen with TYT, there's always a limit. And I believe that James is more aligned with like the type of journalism and reporting that I do, or maybe Nick, Sabby, Glenn, Jimmy, even. Like, I don't give a shit. I'll broach whatever topic. If I believe that there's a story there and I have the time to cover it and do the research, I'm going to talk about it because it's important. Especially if it's important. Especially if no one else will talk about it. That's the whole reason I did the Erica Kirk topic. Because it was the strangest fucking phenomenon, one of the strangest phenomena I've ever seen, where everyone's talking about it, but no one had did a video. I'm like, so no one's going to talk about this? But everybody thinks it's important? So we're just going to ignore this. Okay, well, I guess I'll talk about it then. It was the same thing that happened whenever I discovered like the election was being rigged against Bernie in 2016. Like everyone knew it was happening, but no one wanted to talk about it because they were all worried about protecting their connections. No one wanted to be the first, because what if I'm wrong? What if people call me unhinged? What do people say? I don't give a shit about any of that. If it's a story, it's a story. If the facts are there, they're there. I'm gonna ignore the facts. Sorry, I do not have it in me. I don't know if it's because of the fucking be on the spectrum of autism or whatever the hell it is, but if the facts are there, I can't ignore the facts. They're like screaming at me at that point. I'm like, no, now I got to do a video. And James definitely has that tendency. I just believe that he came in between. I just believe that he came in between the money breaking points he was either making from a donor or that they were about to make. And that was the issue, because at the end of the day, if you go to James's Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, he don't have TikTok anymore because he was banned. Go and look at how many views he gets. Explain to me how that makes sense. If the money that you are receiving has anything to do with the analytics of your contributors overall and how much each contributor is contributing to your numbers. Are they a net negative or are they a net positive? And there's no goddamn way that you're going to be able to convince me that James is a net negative. It's just not. He's not. This is why it's important. This is one of the reasons why I've never joined independent media. One of the reasons why I've never, independent media. That's one of the reasons why I've never joined mainstream media when I've had the opportunity. It's one of the reasons why I've never joined a major network when I've had the opportunity, like even independent networks. Like the only big one I worked for was RT, and they did, because they let me do everything I wanted, basically. And the only reason I left RT actually was because of there was safety concerns about all of the American journalists and the journalists in Western Europe. So like that was the only reason I left RT. But there was such a clear cut, like, if y'all try and stop me from saying what I want to say, there's gonna be a problem. And they were like, oh, you ain't gotta worry about that shit here. And that was it. Boom, boom. And to this day, I love working for RT. Bro, I loved it. They let me find my own stories when I needed to get somewhere. They funded the trips. I got to cover major stories in Nebraska, New York, California, even Miami, because of RT, which is how it should be. Like when I did good journalism, I got rewarded for it. James has done amazing journalism, has gone above and beyond, and got punished for it. Fucking ridiculous. But I expect nothing less. That's what I mean when I say I'm surprised that he lasted this long. He was brought on in 2022, and very few people have had such a huge impact on a lot of the topics that we discussed today, like James has. So, wishing him the best of luck. I hope this is a lesson to some of y'all who are out there. That shit's temporary, dog. Whenever these people show you who they are, you better believe them. Don't think that you're going to be the exception just because they call you friend or they're using you at that point. Because, as much as James may have benefited from breaking points, best believe breaking points equally benefited from James' contributions. Best believe that. And to send him out unceremoniously like that, having a fucking producer send him an email instead of calling him, thanking him, explain the situation. At least I would have more respect for you if you did that. But y'all couldn't even man up and call him yourself. You had to send an email via a producer. That's cowardly. Target tier for life. Appreciate the super chat. Just showing love. Continue the outstanding work. Appreciate you. Thank you. One more story, guys. So y'all have heard about Donald Trump and how he plans on sending troops or getting involved in this Nigeria situation, because he is claiming, and there are people that are claiming, that Christians are being uniquely massacred in Nigeria, and that in order for us to solve that problem, the problem that we literally created because we're the ones who created Boko Haram, we have to put troops on the ground. Yeah. So, out of curiosity, when I was looking around, I was checking like an update on how that was going. I happened to catch a story regarding immigration and his plan specifically regarding Nigeria. And I found out that basically he's actually planning on doing extreme visa restrictions in Nigeria. And it like makes it seem as if it's on behalf of the Christians that are being slaughtered, but that's not. When you actually look at this policy practically, that's not what's going to happen. And effectively, it's kind of like, yeah, man, we ain't trying to really deal with y'all because we know. I mean, think about it. The U.S. knows what happens whenever we create terrorist organizations. Those terrorist organizations do their job, which is terrorize the countries that we need them to terrorize the areas, especially resource-rich areas that we need them to terrorize. And then we, send troops there to pretend like we're there to engage with them when in actuality we're there to assist them in their mission. Says right here, this is the AP. The U.S. will restrict visas for Nigerians and their families involved in violence against Christians. Yeah, no, that's a very confusing conclusion for a policy. Because like how and what does that even mean? And don't worry, by the end of this article, you're going to be just as confused at the end as you are at the top. I wish I could say otherwise. I know that maybe they're like, oh, maybe by the end of the article, I might get some clarification. No, you're not. You're going to be even more confused. Okay. The United States will restrict visas for Nigerians and their family members involved in mass killings and violence against Christians in the West African country. The U.S. State Department said on Wednesday. The attacks on the community are part of a long-standing and extremely complex security crisis in Nigeria, a nation recently singled out by the U.S. President Donald Trump for the killing of Christians by radical Islamists. Last month, Trump also said he has ordered the Pentagon to begin planning for potential military action in Nigeria following the claims of Christian persecution. I told you that was always a goal, right? I told you that was always a goal. The United States is taking decisive action in response to the mass killings and violence against Christians by radical Islamic extremists, Fulani ethnic militias, and other violent actors in Nigeria and beyond, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in a statement posted on X. He added that the policy would apply to other governments or individuals engaged in violations of religious freedom. I think that he meant to say other countries except for Israel, right? I guess that's implied nowadays, but I'm just going to go ahead and put that in there to make it accurate. Anyway, and that the restrictions are in line with a new policy under the Immigration and Nationality Act. The move follows a designation of Nigeria by the U.S. as a country of particular concern under the International Religious Freedom Act last month. It wasn't immediately clear how Wednesday's policy would be implemented, as the State Department already has the ability to restrict travel to the U.S. by those involved in human rights abuses. I'm going to read that again. It wasn't exactly clear how Wednesday's policies would be implemented, as the State Department already has the ability to restrict travel to the U.S. by individuals who commit or are involved in human rights abuses. In addition to Nigeria, the list of nations designated as countries of particular concern includes China, Cuba, Eritrea, Iran, Myanmar, North Korea, Nicaragua, Pakistan, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. So they even made a special shout out to Boko Haram. The West African country has long faced insecurity from the various fronts, including the Boko Haram extremist group, which seeks to establish its radical interpretation of Islamic law and has targeted Muslims it deems are not Muslim enough. Also, there has been a way to, you notice how they wait to like that fucking end of the article to bring up the fact that Boko Haram is targeting Muslims. and had nothing to say about the fact that Trump isn't saying anything about those Muslims that are being targeted. Also, there has been an uptick in activities of armed gangs in the central part of the country who kidnap locals for ransom. Shout out to Alva Sessions. Excuse me. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate you. So yeah, like I said, at the beginning of the article or at the end of the article, I wish I could say that you actually get a clearer picture of what's going on, at least more than the beginning. But no, it actually leaves you a little bit more confused because if your family or yourself were involved in human rights violations in any country, not just Nigeria, you wouldn't be granted a visa here. That's just duh. Okay, excuse me. My apologies. Any unsanctioned human rights violations, because we know, like, if you're committing human rights violations on behalf of the United States, keep your chin up. You might become president of Syria one day, like Jolani. So, but, I'm just saying, according to policy, if you've committed human rights violations, hell, if you've committed what we would consider a misdemeanor in some cases or a felony, by our standard, by U.S. standards, you wouldn't be permitted, or if you had a visa here, you would be kicked out. This is a stupid policy. Like, yeah, man, we got to remind you guys, we have to make a whole announcement and pretend like we this is the day we make a stance against people slaughtering families. You're not going to get approved for your tourist visa, so no Disney World for you, Buster. Well, you was never going to give them, well, once again, if they worked on behalf U.S. and committed those violations, yes, you would have to admit. If not, you would never do that. You would never grant them those visas. Those background checks are always done. So if someone does get in after having committed human rights violations, it's because the U.S. let them in. Cough, cough, DC shooter. Hashtag. Okay. So now that we got that out the way, let's talk about the real implications of this. Do y'all think that Christian Nigerians will be exempt from this? These visa restrictions, these visa laws, which I find the answer is no, right? Because it's going to be very difficult to know if individual Nigerians were involved or not involved in violence. So they're just going to kick those visas down the line. They're going to kick the visa applications down the line and kick it down the road until the U.S. decides when they're going to start allowing them in again. That's basically what's going to happen. Why? Because if you have Boko Haram attacking from one front and then the U.S. send troops into that country on the other front, that's going to destabilize the nation, right? I think we all know that. It's going to cause even more violence. In these situations, where do they usually go? They're going to go to one of two places. U.S., Western Europe. So what do? You put people in a stage of limbo when they apply for these visas using this policy as the excuse. Because you're about to go fuck shit up and everybody's about to run to your country, because we understand the number one cause of massive immigration into the U.S. and Western Europe is what? Imperialism. And it isn't just you and I who are aware of this. It's the U.S. as well. The government is aware. They pretend like they don't care. They pretend like they don't know, but they're aware of this as well. And they often take measures to deal with it. That's why our immigration system is so sketchy and ambiguous and so difficult to discern, because it's on purpose. In case of situations like these, where we need the immigration process to be ambiguous, because we about to go do some dumb shit. We about to go fuck somebody's country up. But on the other side of that fence, once again, this policy completely neglects the fact that it's actually more Muslims that have been killed in Nigeria. So whenever these Muslims who are being attacked en masse, who are being killed in higher numbers than the Christians, whenever those Muslims apply to move to the U.S. and apply for a visa, apply for refugee status, what do you think they're going to say? what do you think is going to be the outcome? Despite the fact there are more Muslims being killed, they're going to be immediately denied. Because what was Trump's justification for this policy? The protection of Christians. He didn't once mention Muslims that are being attacked by these extremists that the U.S. paid. Right? That's not according to Niko, that's according to U.S. Congress. He didn't once mention Muslims. He's claiming that Muslims are the problem, despite the fact that it is Muslims that are being primarily slaughtered. So whenever these Muslims apply for visa status, refugee status, because of the problems caused by the U.S., the Christians might get thrown in limbo and may be approved later on, but the Muslims that are actually being slaughtered in mass, they're getting completely denied. They're going to be discriminated against, which of course is probably the goal. That is likely the goal. And that is why, once again, the policy is so damn ambiguous. And they're like, well, how are they going to enforce this? How are they going to enforce this policy? That's the secret. We're going to figure it out as we go. Whatever's most convenient, that's how we're going to enforce it. So what this is letting everybody know, this is like a precursor to let you all know the U.S. is about to go fuck up Nigeria. That country, if you are comfortable and you think everything is sweet out there, I know there's a lot of issues, I'm aware, but it's about to get worse because the U.S. doesn't show up in your country and everything just gets better for you. It's not how it works. Ask Libya, ask Somalia, ask Sudan. The U.S. doesn't show up to your country and things get better. In fact, things get significantly worse. And now they're trying to make it so that nobody has anywhere to go whenever the U.S. does come there and make things significantly worse. Which I feel could be interesting. Because if the U.S. does go to Nigeria and make things significantly worse, how do you think people are going to feel about that? The people of Nigeria. Next door to Burkina Faso, next door to Mali, and next door to Niger. The AES, Military Economic Partnership, just salivating at the opportunity, waiting for the people of Nigeria to be like, you know what? I'm tired of this shit. Why can't we have what they have? Why can't our economy work for everybody like theirs does? Why can't we kick out the U.S. and take our government back like they did? They had less resources, less education, less opportunity, less weapons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They weren't always the AES. They were separate countries that took the governments back individually and became a united front. Why can't Nigeria have that? Why can't you? I know Nigerians, boy. I know the woke Nigerians. Woo! Nobody is more frustrated with Nigeria than woke Nigerians. I know. I know we got Nigerian on Hotspot. He laments the. I don't even know if you can call them coons because, Nigerians are all black. But the closest thing that you can be to a coon, he be talking about them all the time. Basically kissing the hand of the empire just so they can, hopefully have an opportunity to participate in it. Shout out to Giobot, 9K, get to 5 memberships. Appreciate you. So, no, Trump is not about to help Christians in Nigeria. Just like they're not bombing Somalia in Puntland where all the gold comes from. Because they are worried about terrorism. That is not why they're bombing Somalia, y'all. They're continuing to bomb and destabilize Puntland in Somalia because that's where the black market gold comes from, and that's where the UAE gets the majority of their black market gold. In case you didn't know, fun fact for you. Go check out my hotspot video on it. It's a very interesting one. Yeah, man, it's about I will end by saying this. We just saw a coup attempt in Benin, and I'm not sure that it's over. A lot of evidence suggesting that it may not be over. And it's just that the West is in the Benin government are attempting to convince the world that it's over. So it looks like the West has everything under control. But I doubt it'll be the last one. Because they are part of ECOWAS, right? Just the same way Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger were. And Nigeria is. They're watching. They're like, we want that shit. We want it. If France loses Benin, it's a problem. But it's not just. Africa is watching, and they are finding inspiration in what they're seeing happen in Burkina Faso and Mali and Niger. And they're not only watching what's happening in those countries, but they're looking at the results of what is happening to the country that had control of those nations, which in this particular case would be France. France, which used to have this, maybe still does, the second largest economy in the EU. It is crumbling. That is why they were like, under no circumstances can Benin, can we lose Benin? We can't do it. If we do, that's it. It's over. France can't afford to lose any more. So like they're like, yo, man, we're really that fucking important. But also, we have the capacity to do this. And now we have a team. We have a group of people who have withstood everything, every challenge the empire has thrown at them for years now. And has bettered their economy along the way. I bet we can do that shit too. The world needs an independent Africa. The world needs it. Africa needs it, but the world needs it too. So many countries would be better off if they could do truly bilateral negotiations with these nations, with African nations. So many countries and so many people around the world in the global south would be better off if they didn't have to rely on the West. And the West would basically be on their knees because they can't survive without the global south, and specifically Africa. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of For the People podcast. Like this video, share the video, subscribe if this is your first time here. Go follow us on Telegram for all the breaking news and content updates. Make sure y'all follow me on Twitter at Real Niko House. Follow me on Instagram at Real Niko House as well. Follow us on Hotspot at Hotspot on X. You can support the show by becoming a premium subscriber here on YouTube. You can also support us on Patreon and help our channel grow. Like I said, I'm trying to get some help so I can, I got 3 kids, y'all. It's a lot of work. 3 kids, and one of them newborn and one of them a toddler. So, and my toddler is a motherfucking hurricane. That boy don't stop. So when we get some help, we'll be able to do more content every week. We still release hotspot videos basically every day. And we try to keep up as much as we can, but we're trying to get some more help in to put out content at least close to the frequency that we used to be able to. So the more you guys contribute in that regard, the more we can put out, and of course that guarantees that we stay independent, just the way that I like and just the way that you like it. Because I ain't trying to get James lead, y'all. I don't. I'd rather not get the money. I'd rather don't set me up. He gonna set me up to fall. Man, but shout out to James, man. Shout out to James. Make sure you go subscribe to his channel if you can, man. Once again, he does great work. And shout out to all you guys for tuning in. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.